Yet another story of mystery, one that baffled many. The only substantive evidence was a can of Coke. The question still remains, how will a can of Coke become the only demystifying truth to unpuzzle the sudden disappearance of Mandy? A whole community shattered in fears, heartbroken, in sorrow and disappointment, waiting for her justice. Can the police, FBI, polygraph tests, forensic evidence, witness testimony, and friends bring justice to Mandy and the community?
I panicked.
The tragic story of Mandy Stavic's murder and the long journey towards justice stands as a chilling reminder of the dangers faced by young women and the resilience of the communities determined to solve even the coldest of cases. In November 1989, 18-year-old Mandy Stavic went for a routine jog near her home in Acme, Washington, accompanied by her loyal German Shepherd. Mandy was a high school senior, a bright and promising student with her whole future ahead of her. She was well known in her small town, and her disappearance sent shockwaves through the tight-knit community. When Mandy's dog returned home alone, her family immediately knew something was wrong.
The only thing I could see were her tennis shoes and socks. When I rolled her over, it was kind of a real shock to me because she looked like my daughter.
A frantic search ensued, involving local law enforcement, neighbors, and volunteers. The search tragically came to an end 3 days later when Mandy's body was found in the nearby Nooksack River. Her death left the town heartbroken and filled with fear, and for the next 25 years, Mandy's murder remained an unsolved mystery. As investigators pieced together the timeline, it became clear that Mandy had been abducted during her jog. Witnesses reported seeing her running westbound on Strand Road, and a man in a pickup truck had noticed her heading in that direction, the direction of her home. Authorities believe she was taken by someone in a vehicle, most likely at gunpoint. Mandy's body revealed the horrifying details of what she had endured. She had been sexually assaulted, with scratches on her arms and legs indicating a desperate attempt to escape her attacker. After being beaten and incapacitated, she was thrown into the river, where she ultimately drowned. Despite the FBI's involvement in the preservation of DNA evidence from Mandy's body by lead investigator Ron Peterson, the case went cold for over 2 decades. Investigators interviewed numerous suspects and collected DNA samples, but none matched the profile found on Mandy's body. The case seemed hopeless, with leads drying up and time eroding the community's confidence in ever fighting justice for Mandy. What the town didn't know was that the key to solving the case would come from a seemingly casual conversation between 2 women, years after the murder. In 2013, Heather Backstrom and Marilee Anderson were chatting at a water park. Both women had long been haunted by their own unsettling encounters with a man named Tim Bass, who lived near Mandy at the time of her murder. Heather had remembered Bass making inappropriate comments and unwanted advances towards her when she was just 15 years old. Marilee had also experienced Bass's creepy behavior when he showed up at her house uninvited and refused to leave until she threatened to call the police. Both women felt that something was off about him, but neither had ever thought to connect him to Mandy's murder, until that fateful conversation. After sharing their stories, Heather and Marilee decided to contact law enforcement and report their suspicions. The information they provided reopened the case, putting Tim Bass back in the spotlight as a potential suspect. Detective Kevin Bowie, who had never given up on Mandy's case, was able to use this new lead to re-examine old evidence and revisit Bass's background.
Keep persistent. Keep going.
Mandy's dead, but this case was not going to die.
No.
It was discovered that Bass had been living in the same neighborhood as Mandy at the time of her murder and had evaded scrutiny during the original investigation. Bass, who worked as a delivery driver for a local bakery, had kept a low profile for years. When investigators approached him, he denied any connection to Mandy, claiming he didn't know her. Despite his denial, police were determined to obtain his DNA to compare it to the sample preserved from Mandy's body. This was easier said than done, as Bass refused to cooperate. That's when his boss, Kim Wagner, played a pivotal role in moving the case forward.
At this point, I'm thinking I'm working with somebody that potentially did this to Mandy, and I gotta know.
Kim Wagner described Bates as a strange and unpredictable man with little to no respect for women. He referred to her dismissively as woman, never calling her by her name. Suspicious of his behavior and wanting to assist the investigation, Kim took it upon herself to help the police gather the DNA they needed. She carefully watched Bates and, when the opportunity arose, collected a plastic cup and a Coke can that had been discarded. These items were handed over to the authorities, who were able to extract DNA from them. The results were undeniable. The DNA from the Coke can matched the male DNA found on Mandy's body, providing the long-awaited breakthrough in the case. In December 2017, Tim Bates was arrested and charged with Mandy Stavic's murder, nearly 3 decades after her death. The trial that followed was filled with emotional testimonies, shocking revelations, and a defense strategy that many found hard to believe. Bates claimed that he had consensual sex with Mandy and had insisted that the DNA evidence did not prove that he raped or murdered her. His defense attorneys argued that DNA only showed physical contact, not guilt, and they attempted to cast doubt on the timeline of events. During the trial, the defense presented expert testimony from Dr. Elizabeth Johnson, who claimed that the semen found on Mandy's body could have been deposited up to 48 hours before her death. This was an attempt to bolster Bates' claim of consensual sex. However, the prosecution's expert Dr. Gary Goldfogel refuted his theory, explaining that the condition of Mandy's body and the timeline of her death were more consistent with rape and murder, not consensual intercourse. Adding to the weight of evidence against Bates was testimony from his ex-wife, Gina, and his brother, Tom. Gina testified that Bates had asked his mother to falsely implicate his deceased father in the crime, a desperate move to shift the blame.
It didn't feel like a marriage. I felt like I went into a prison, actually.
Tom revealed that Bates had admitted to sleeping with Mandy and had even asked him to lie about it. These testimonies painted a picture of a man willing to manipulate and deceive those around him to escape accountability. As the trial progressed, it became clear that the defense's arguments were not enough to create reasonable doubt in the minds of the jury. After just 5 hours of deliberation, the jury returned with a guilty verdict, convicting Bates of murder, rape, and kidnapping. For Mandy's family, the conviction was a long overdue moment of justice. Her mother, Mary, had spent years advocating for her daughter and refusing to give up hope.
And people would say to me, "Oh, you're so strong." Oh, yeah, right. You can't be strong through something like that. It just rips you to pieces.
The sentence of nearly 27 years in prison may not have been enough to heal the wounds left by Mandy's loss, but it provided some measure of closure. Kim Wagner, who had been instrumental in helping the police gather the evidence needed to convict Bates, felt a mix of relief and fear. She had played a key role in bringing a dangerous man to justice, but had also put herself at great personal risk in doing so. Her courage and determination were praised by many, and her actions serve as a testament to the power of ordinary people to make a difference in the pursuit of justice. For the residents of Acme, Washington, the conclusion of the case marked the end of a dark chapter in their history. The community had been haunted by Mandy's unsolved murder for 30 years, and the resolution brought a sense of relief. However, the pain of losing such a bright and promising young woman still lingers, and Mandy's memory continues to be cherished by those who knew her. In the end, the story of Mandy Stavic's murder and the long road to justice is a powerful reminder of how persistence, community involvement, and advancements in forensic science can come together to solve even the coldest of cases. It is also a sobering reflection on the dangers faced by women and the importance of holding those who commit such heinous crimes accountable. Although nothing can bring Mandy back, her case serves as a symbol of hope for other families who continue to seek justice for their loved ones.